How frustrating is a career in tech sales? In other words, if you decide to get into this field, how stressful and frustrating might you be on a day-to-day basis? Don't worry guys, we're gonna address exactly that question right now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Untitled Chapter here, AKA the best dressed man in tech sales, don't forget it. And in today's video, we're gonna address the question of how frustrating is tech sales? And what I'm gonna do is break down over my 9 years of experience, the 4 most frustrating areas of tech sales, so that way you have an idea of what are the stressful components of this job, but more importantly, which pieces will frustrate you potentially. And I hope that this video can give you, again, real insight to help you answer the question of, is this career for me? Am I a good fit? So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys, the first number 1 most frustrating thing about tech sales is the fact that it is a team sport. What I mean by this is you have to depend on a lot of other people and departments, which means you are not always in control of the outcomes, the speed at which things are done, and the way that things are done. So, for example, me as an account executive or any account executive out there, they have to work with a couple of different teams. Number 1, you're gonna have a sales engineer most likely if you sell a more complex technical product, and that person is going to be your wingman. Like that is gonna be your right-hand man or woman that you're gonna be working with every day, and they're gonna help explain the technical part of the software that's probably gonna go over your head, okay? And you wanna make sure you have a good relationship with this person because this can make or break, your whole experience in tech sales. So that's the first group or individual that you're gonna have to work with, but you're also gonna have to work with support, right? If your customer's having issue, you're gonna have to be that liaison between your customer and support and make sure that you're checking in, make sure things are getting taken care of and getting addressed in the way they need to get addressed, and making sure everything is done timely, okay? So support is the other kind of team or group of folks that you have to work with. The other team is the contracts department, right? When you're making contracts, when you're trying to maybe get a discount for your customer, you often have to work with a side of the company called Deal Desk. These are the folks who help approve contracts internally. So you got to make sure you're working with them. It's best to get on their good side as well, because again, these folks are making the paper and the legal agreements that your customers have to sign. So you want to make sure you learn how to work well with these individuals. And some other departments that you can expect to work with are just general finance folks. So for example, if your customer needs a refund, there needs to be a credit for something, maybe an invoice got messed up, you're also going to have to potentially work with the finance team. So I share all that to let you know that sales in tech is definitely a team sport. You have to work with all these departments that I mentioned and more just to get things done. And if you're not really a team player, more of a lone wolf, it's going to be a little difficult for you to manage all of this. So that can be the first potentially frustrating area of tech sales specifically, because you have to work with all these other teams and individuals, meaning that things are not always in your control and you have to play nicely with everybody in order to get the outcomes that you want to see. All right, area number 2 that can potentially cause frustration in tech sales is the overall coordination of things. What I mean by this, guys, is you have to set up a lot of meetings. So between your clients, you're going to have to, if they say, hey, can you set up a meeting with the VP of sales, or can you set up a meeting with the CFO? It's going to be on you to reach out to those folks, provide availability, right? Hopefully you got a calendar link or something like that. But you're going to have to schedule and coordinate those things. So a lot of times being an account executive, for example, you have to play the role of an admin, right? Let's say one of your customers wants to speak with a product manager at your company. It's going to be up to you to contact that manager, get their availability, share with the client, and then schedule that meeting. So if you multiply this by 10 clients, 20 clients, add in the prospects, add in other things, it can be a lot, and you might feel like a glorified assistant at times. So again, the coordination of activities is going to be a lot, right? Your customer might ask you to set up a support ticket, right? Now that's on you. You've got to get that done. So there's going to be a lot of times where you're asked to coordinate certain meetings, coordinate certain actions, activities that can help your customer or the company. And depending on your past experience, that could be frustrating because you might feel like, wow, there's so much work to do. There's so many things I have to get done. And it's true, sometimes these things can pile up, but that is the second potentially frustrating area of tech sales. So make sure you're aware of that. All right, item number 3 in terms of things that can be frustrating in tech sales is you got to take the heat. What I mean by this, guys, is let's say the product has a bug. Let's say support doesn't get stuff done. Let's say there's continuous problems, whatever it is on the negative side of, your customer having a bad experience, whatever it is, you got to take the heat. For example, in a past company that I worked at, one of our cloud partners was actually messing up. So it wasn't even our company, but it was a partner of our company that helped the software work. They had an outage, okay? Not us, nothing I did. That company had an outage, which impacted our customer. And I had to take the heat for it. I literally got a scathing email from the customer saying, wow, this is total BS. The product doesn't work. This is the second time this has happened. Not satisfied. What's going on? We need a solution ASAP. And I had to take the heat. I definitely shared it with my manager and my VP, and they, did some response as well to the customer, but I had to take the bullet there. And that's the other thing about tech sales is when things go wrong, as the account executive, if that's your role, you're gonna have to take the heat for these things. You're gonna have to answer the hard questions. You're gonna have to speak to the customer sometimes face to face or on a Zoom call or on the cell phone to apologize for these things and take the heat. Now, this can be frustrating, but there is a way to deal with it. And what you wanna do is really just be human with the customer, right? Make sure that you say, hey, look, we're trying our best. This is what we do. This is what we did. Here's the action I'm going to take after this, right? And at least let them know that you're going to take specific action to correct the issue. So actually, while this can be frustrating, I think it's also a good opportunity for folks to strengthen relationships, because if you can address the problems, you can also look like a hero. So that is the third potentially frustrating area of tech sales, the fact that you got to take the heat when things don't go right. All right, guys, area number 4 of potential frustration in tech sales is the fact that it is very, very, I would even say purely numbers driven, okay? What this means is they don't care if you helped your client save $1 million. You could produce the most amazing outcomes for your clients. You could do, I don't know, whatever it is, but if you are not making a sale, if you are not increasing consumption of your product, if you are not getting new customers to use your product and you're not hitting that quota, nothing else really matters, to be honest, guys. Even if you're getting meetings, even if you're hitting other metrics, if you are not getting the sales numbers that management wants to see, it's not gonna be a good look. And so that can be potentially frustrating, because let's say you're not a numbers person. Let's say that you're more on the soft value side of things and you really care about producing outcomes for your clients. That stuff is not going to get recognition, okay? So again, you can help your customer achieve the greatest outcome ever, and maybe your company even writes a case study on it. That's great, but again, if you're not hitting that quota, if you're not getting the numbers, it's gonna be a bad look and potentially have some consequences for you later down the line. So that is the fourth potentially frustrating area, guys, of tech sales, is that it is purely numbers driven. The numbers are what makes the world go around in tech sales, and if you're not hitting the numbers, somebody might be upset. So there you have it. There you have it, guys. Those are 4 potential areas of frustration within tech sales. But before we go, let's go ahead and recap so we don't forget. Number 1, we talked about tech sales being a team sport, right? You got to collaborate with other departments, other teams, and that means things are not always in your control. So you got to work with finance, you got to work with your engineer, you got to work with support, all these other teams. If you're not a team player, it might be frustrating for you. Number 2, we talked about the coordination, okay? So whether it's with your clients, whether it's internal stuff, you're gonna have to coordinate a lot of meetings and a lot of activities. For example, you might have to set up extra calls with your clients. You might have to set up extra follow-up things for your prospects. You might have to set up support tickets, right, for your existing customers, whatever it is. But you can expect a lot of coordination, and you might at times feel like a glorified admin. So that is the second area that we talked about in terms of potential frustration areas in tech sales. Number 3, we talked about having to take the heat. So even if things are going amazing, one day the product stops working, one day support doesn't do their job, one day somebody else does something that makes your client have a bad day, you got to take the heat. So that was the third thing. Last but not least, number 4, it is very numbers driven, okay? So again, if you are doing amazing work for your clients and your clients love you and you're doing all these great things for them, it doesn't really matter to the company, because you got to be hitting the numbers, okay? So get the quota, get the metrics that you need to hit, and at the same time, of course, do good things for your clients, make sure their business is successful. But remember, the company's not going to recognize and praise those other outcomes as much as they are going to praise and recognize the numbers. So that could potentially be frustrating if you are the type to not be so numbers driven. All right, guys, so there you have it. 4 specific areas within tech sales that might cause you some frustration. So if you're looking to get into this field, I hope that this gives you a little bit more clarity into some potential areas of frustration you might hit should you get in. So with that said, guys, hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, please hit the subscribe button below. Also, if you're not doing so already, go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn. And last but not least, go ahead and check us out at the B2B Syndicate if you're looking to break into tech sales or become a sharper seller in the field. All right. With that said, guys, hope you have an amazing day, and I will catch you all in the next video. Take it easy now.